This student is too much of a troublemaker. The teacher asked him to read a sentence in English, and he actually created his own language to read aloud. The teacher was furious. "I've never taught such a bad student." She sent him out to stand in the corner, and on a math test, on a simple question like what does 3 times 9 equal? He chose a strange solution. He thought of the 2 numbers as planets, and he was the captain of the universe. He was in charge of transporting Planet 3 to rendezvous with Planet 9. Then Planet 3 hit Planet 9 too hard and destroyed it. So the boy came up with the answer. 3 times 9 equals 3. The boy was confident. He was going to get a 100 on his test. His classmates asked him how he did. The boy said with a smug look on his face, the questions were too easy, but he got a 0 in the end. How did the boy deal with his parents? Let Kay tell you all about it. The boy got a 0 on his test. He needed his parents to sign the paper. He was afraid of being scolded by his parents. So he had an idea. He called 2 dogs, and they ate the paper on the spot. When he got back, he told his parents, "The dogs ate my paper on the way home." They beat him up. The boy's name was Ethan. He picked up a ball for a classmate and threw it outside the school. The classmate was so angry with him that he put Ethan in a chokehold. When Ethan got home, he saw his classmates' parents. They came to the door to demand compensation. Ethan's father didn't even ask, and slapped Ethan across the face. Ethan's bad behavior was horrible. He was branded as the worst kind of kid by teachers and parents alike. The teacher told Ethan's parents that Ethan had 0s in all subjects. The principal said the boy must be retarded. He's got nothing on his brother's IQ. And to make it worse, Ethan's brother was the top student in the school. Ethan, on the other hand, is in 3rd grade. He's already repeated twice. Ethan even had his brother fake a sick note and then skipped class to go out and play. The principal wanted to expel Ethan from school. Ethan's father was furious. No matter how bad his son was in school, he couldn't be mentally retarded. At most, he's just a brat. So he contacted a friend and transferred his son to a boarding school, hoping to help his son and change his personality. This is the strictest boarding school in history. Any unruly student would be reduced to sheep's clothing. Ethan had never left home before. He watched his parents' car drive away. As tears of sadness streamed down his face, was he really abandoned? His mother and brother didn't want to leave Ethan either, but for Ethan's sake, they had to let him go. But what Ethan's parents didn't know was that Ethan wasn't good at math and language but was a master at art. Ethan didn't need to read the instructions to finish a 10,000-piece puzzle. He could put it together quickly and accurately. When he was on the street, he saw a kid eating a popsicle, and later he came back and put it on a piece of white paper, with yellow and red paint and water, making a beautiful gradient, and then drew this child eating a popsicle. When Ethan found out he was leaving home, Ethan painted a continuous hand-over-hand drawing. Ethan was gradually leaving his parents and brother, but Ethan's talent was unknown. He could only keep his sadness deep inside. In the middle of the night, when no one was around, he hid in the bathroom and cried, and when he was done, he washed his red eyes with water, so that no one would realize that he had cried. Now that Ethan was without parental protection, he was careful in the classroom. "Do you think this boy is a genius or a fool?" The teacher asked Ethan to explain a poem. Ethan said, "What we see and feel is true. What we can't see or feel is false." The teacher was so angry that he almost burst into flames. In fact, Ethan said the real meaning of the poem, but the teacher thought he was a problem student. He instinctively thought that Ethan couldn't possibly get it right, and in the art class, Ethan was always distracted. The art teacher threw a piece of chalk and brought Ethan back to his senses. The art teacher then made Ethan hold out his hand and hit him 5 times. Ethan's hand was swollen, and the pain was so unbearable that a few tears streamed down his face, but he didn't cry out loud, because here, no one could protect Ethan. Crying would only make Ethan a laughing stock to his teachers and classmates. So Ethan wiped away his tears and went on with his class. This boy was very unusual. In English class, the words in Ethan's eyes were like little dancing men. In math class, the numbers all floated away. Not only did he not improve his grades at this boarding school, he also became silent and irritable. He dumped all his books in the trash and threw his bag out of the building. But all the subjects Ethan saw turned into spiders that crawled up his neck and desk, trying to eat Ethan's body. Ethan was so scared that he slapped the spiders to death. Eventually, the teacher gave Ethan a nickname, the King of Stupidity, until a new art teacher came along. That's when Ethan finally got out of his predicament. This teacher made an unusual first appearance. He dressed up as a clown and did 3 somersaults in a row. He sang, danced, and played the flute to the students. He drew a lot of applause from the students, and this teacher's name was Nick. His teaching style was out of this world. On his first day as a teacher, He let his students go wild. They drew whatever they wanted, but Ethan's paper was blank, and Nick found out. Ethan was constantly being punished by the other teachers, and when Ethan saw Nick, Ethan subconsciously cowered in fear. Nick noticed this special kid, so he decided to make a home visit to get to know Ethan better. Ethan's parents showed Nick Ethan's previous workbook. However, there was a drawing missing from the book. Nick was shocked. He didn't realize that this kid could draw. So he looked at Ethan's other drawings, and one of them was very interesting. From the front, the soldiers were digging a tunnel, and from the back, the soldiers were escaping through the tunnel. Not even an adult would think of such an idea. Are there really geniuses in this world? Nick told Ethan's parents that Ethan was not an idiot. He's a genius at drawing. Ethan's father said with disdain, "Don't be ridiculous. What's the merit in drawing?" Nick opened Ethan's English book. Ethan writes B for D, and he writes D for B. That's a glaring error of judgment. In other words, Ethan has dyslexia. His visual and auditory information cannot be harmonized. Ethan's father disagreed. He thinks Ethan just doesn't like to study. Nick saw that he didn't believe him. He picked up a toy box. It was written in Japanese. Nick asked Ethan's father to read it out loud. Ethan's father was furious. "I don't know any Japanese." Nick didn't give him a chance to argue. "You're so arrogant, and your attitude is wrong." Then Ethan's father realized something. It turned out that he had never understood his son, and never understood his behavior or what he was going through. He just blamed Ethan. Nick said, "That's what Ethan's dealing with now. He can't recognize the alphabet." So Ethan's confidence was destroyed, and in turn, he used his rebellion to cover up his inability, and now Ethan's rebellion is gone. He's even given up painting, and knowing that, Nick wanted to help Ethan get his confidence back. How do you help a child find confidence? Nick was in the classroom. Take the famous painter Leonardo da Vinci for example. Leonardo da Vinci had dyslexia. He would always write a sentence backwards. Nick shined a mirror at the board, and the sentence became normal to Ethan. Ethan's eyes lit up when he saw it. He found something that resonated. Ethan was suddenly realizing that a fool could be a genius, and that's when he finally smiled. By the end of class, Nick told Ethan alone that one day he's gonna shine. Ethan's confidence was restored. In his outdoor art class, he was no longer staring into nothing. He'd take things from the ground, such as twigs and leaves, and create a floating water wheel. Nick showed his classmates, and they all applauded Ethan's invention. Ethan bowed his head in embarrassment. Nick saw that Ethan was getting more and more confident, so he started teaching him one-on-one. Nick taught Ethan how to read English words, to increase Ethan's interest in learning. How do you raise a fool to be a genius? Nick wrote the letters of the alphabet on Ethan's arm, so Ethan could feel the shapes of the letters. Then he used different watercolors to differentiate between similar letter shapes, and to add and subtract numbers. Nick wrote positive and negative numbers on the steps, and let Ethan jump up and down the steps, as a way for him to accurately calculate addition and subtraction. Every time Ethan got better and better, Nick would play with claymation with him, and sure enough Ethan fell in love with learning. With this art-related method of teaching, Ethan was impressed with every number and every word. His test scores got better and better, but that wasn't all. Nick had prepared a school-wide drawing contest, and had a special gift for Ethan. And just then, Ethan's father arrived at school, to tell Nick that he did care about Ethan, and that he hoped Nick wouldn't get the wrong idea. Now listen to what Nick said. Once upon a time in the Solomon Islands, when the natives wanted to cut down a tree, they would form a circle around the tree, and they would curse the tree with a loud voice, and within a few days, the tree died. Ethan's father felt very guilty, because Ethan was the tree. They were the parents who turned Ethan from a genius to a fool. Ethan's father was coming out of Nick's office when he suddenly saw Ethan. Ethan looked at the drawing contest on the bulletin board and read it word for word. Ethan's father started sobbing uncontrollably. And on the day of the drawing contest, Ethan, who never knew how to button or tie his shoes, cleaned himself up. The genius boy is going to a drawing competition. He combed his hair neatly and carried his painting tools on his back. At the break of dawn, he went to the riverside and looked into the distance, and when it was time, he went to the competition. All the teachers and students were here to draw in unison. Ethan didn't panic. He picked a secluded tree, took out the oil colors that his brother had given him, and he got down to creating his masterpiece. Nick watched Ethan, and got into a painting mood too. For this contest, Nick brought in a professional judge to choose the first place winner. Ethan was a fast painter, and quickly handed his drawing to Nick. Nick was shocked. It was a painting of Ethan sitting by the creek outside the school, with trees, flowers, fish, and animals, all coming out to play. It's like a scene of the earth coming back to life. So that's why Ethan went to the river. And Nick's painting was Ethan laughing wholeheartedly like a happy teenager. Ethan was shocked. He felt from this painting the happiness that he longed for. Ethan's drawing won first place. When the judges announced it, the audience applauded. Ethan was overwhelmed by the sudden enthusiasm. He tripped and fell down the steps. Nick immediately came to Ethan's aid and took him to the podium. Ethan received his first award. This was not only a recognition of Ethan's strength, but also a sign that Ethan's life had taken a turn for the better. From that moment on, Ethan was no longer the king of stupidity. He was now a gifted artist. But Ethan didn't take the award right away. He turned around and threw himself into Nick's arms, because only the two of them knew how hard it was for him to receive this honor. The hardships, the blows, the taunts that Ethan had endured, it almost destroyed him. Luckily, he met Nick. Nick saw something in Ethan. He never gave up on him. He taught him with patience and care. Ethan's confidence was restored, so this honor belongs to both of them. Afterwards, the principal made Ethan's drawing the cover of the school's brochure. To continue this honor, Ethan's parents were shocked and were deeply grateful towards Nick. And at the end of the day, Ethan was in Nick's arms. Ethan flew into the bright sky. That's the end of the movie. This movie is called Ter Zameen Par. Our question for this issue: Ethan has 3 brilliant paintings. Which one is your favorite? Comment 111 for the child eating a popsicle. Comment 222 for the soldier digging a tunnel. Comment 333 for the painting of everything reviving. In Kay's opinion, every child has their own talents. Even the dumbest child can still shine. It's said that parents are the best teachers for their children. Ethan's rebellion to a large extent was caused by his parents. Luckily, Nick was a good teacher and became Ethan's light, turning Ethan into a happy kid. This is a good movie. Kay recommends everyone to go watch the original. Well, that's it for this installment. Remember to like and subscribe. See you next time. Bye.